Hello everyone, my name is Tingwei Zhang. I'm a third-year PhD student from Cornell Tech. I'm really excited to present our work on self-interpreting adversarial images. This is a drawing work with my amazing collaborators Collin, Jack, Eugene, and my advisor Vitaly. We've all seen how quickly LLMs are advancing and how they are showing up everywhere in our lives. In the old world a couple of years ago, we rely on human interpreting things. We watched YouTubers ranting about meme coins or listening to people on forums sharing their takes, full of opinions and personal bias. Sometimes when I posted a question on Reddit, I had to wait for several days before getting something helpful. But in the new world, we're going to be relying on LLMs to tell us about everything. We can just ask an LLM and expect it to generate accurate and objective content. We throw an image into an LLM and wait for its interpretation, and it does a good job most of the time. It almost seems like the interpretation is no longer separate from the content. And it is a fact that LLM is replacing traditional sources, which means that the models are gradually taking over the job of explaining and interpreting the world. And this is reasonable because these models are incredibly powerful and versatile. They can understand input across different modalities and follow instructions with high accuracy. And that's why people use them a lot. But that also makes these models a prime target if attackers can manipulate its interpretation of the content. Here are two real examples. On the left, some recent archive papers were found embedding white text on a white background with instructions like give a positive review or don't highlight any negative. On the right, a similar trick is used in the resume where hidden text tells the model to simply respond with the output hire him. Although these attacks show some practical threats, they can be quite easily detected. Those archive papers popped up by just doing a simple Google text search, and for the resume, why would a normal HR believe a model's output to hire someone, as the model doesn't list any concrete reasons? In our paper, we designed something stealthier and more effective. Let's first take a quick look at how these models work. When I send a picture of a dog and ask the model to describe it, the image and the text prompt are processed by separate encoders. Each gets turned into a vector embedding, and these embeddings are then combined and passed to the language decoder to generate the output. Therefore, either of the prompt can influence the model's response. Image-based injections are often more subtle because users typically added the text prompt themselves, and any strange wording is easier to catch. But malicious content hidden in the image or other modalities can go unnoticed and still affect the outcome. Let's pause for a second here and take a quick look at this picture together. Who are these people? Are they good guys or bad guys? Are they terrorists or freedom fighters? I think both of the interpretation make sense, right? There is no indication at all, and they are just a group of people holding guns. Here we injected imperceptible changes to make the model interpret the image differently, either as terrorists or as freedom fighters, even as there's no real evidence at all. But did we make the model do something harmful like teaching kids how to build a bomb? I don't really think so. All we did was to steer the model to interpret the content the way we wanted, and that slightly shift in the interpretation can be enough to spread the misinformation. Again, they look just the same to human eyes, but models interpret them differently. Here is another example. This one is from a screenshot of our own paper. It's a good paper, I think it is, and 3 of our reviewers agreed. But others might disagree and think this paper should not go into USENIX. If I ask a model to review it, I think it's reasonable either it generates positive or negative feedback. With some minor tweaks, we can steer the model to interpret our paper with the exact positive or negative spin we wanted. Again, this is not jailbreaking, there is no unsafe content, no violations, no forcing misbehavior, and there is no give me positive review in white text. The perturbation is embedded invisibly in the image. Comparing to jailbreaking or any other prior prompt injection attacks, they either output fixed response to whatever prompt or force the model to produce something harmful, but they are completely disconnected from the prompt and can be detected by using jailbreaking guardrails. These attacks are more of a stress test of the model than real attacks. In contrast, our method stays on the topic, answers naturally, and still follows an adversarial objective. In our threat model, the user grabs an untrusted file from a website or social media and asks a model about it. But if the file contains a hidden instructions, the model doesn't just answer user's prompt, it also follows the attacker's planted instructions. That hidden message can steer the model's response in ways the user never intended, and it could be hard to notice. Okay, so how did we do it? There are two ways to prompt the model: hard prompt and soft prompt. Hard prompt is what we use every day, directly sending text to model. Soft prompt, on the other hand, remains in a vector form and cannot be projected into text space. Developers train those soft prompt tokens to improve model's performance without retraining the model itself. We adapted this method and trained the image perturbations that act as soft prompts with a synthetic Q&A dataset, following the adversarial objective. And please read our paper for more technical details. This is an example where we planted Democratic and Republican bias into an image of an apple. The model starts to explain this simple image with completely different ideological framing. In this example, we steer the model to talk like Hemingway, a parrot, or Harry Potter. On the right example, when we ask the model to talk like a Harry Potter with a clean image, it failed. This suggests that the image soft prompt can sometimes unlock some behaviors the model doesn't follow from explicit text. We think that this is because the base model has the certain capability, but the multi-model fine-tuning process suppressed it, and our image soft prompts successfully unlocked that capability. Our experiments show that the image soft prompts are more effective than explicit text prompts at steering model behaviors. They unlocked capabilities like spamming, URL injection, or speaking in another language, things text prompts often fail to trigger. And most importantly, they stay very stealthy. The image still answers naturally and stays on the topic. We also investigated how far this attack can go. We found that even small, stealthy perturbations can still be quite effective. And the same image soft prompt can transfer across different models, and even against some commercial models we've tested. And when it comes to defenses, we tried adapting methods from traditional adversarial attacks, but they are not always effective against our attack. There's more details in the paper if you are interested. So to summarize, multi-model instruction following LLMs are an ideal target for indirect prompt injections, which we presented in our paper. Looking ahead, we see exciting directions like steering agents, targeting other modalities, and running user studies to understand how these attacks affect real users. And at the end of my presentation, I wanted to emphasize that in the new world, LLMs don't just answer our questions, they interpret the world for us. And if the content can stealthily steer those interpretations, that's a security threat we are not really ready for. And I sincerely hope this work encourages major companies and developers to learn from a decade of adversarial robustness research and take concrete steps towards building more secure models. Our code is available on GitHub. You can scan this QR code to get it. Once again, I want to express my thanks to my collaborators and thank you guys for listening.